Now, the IMF is raising serious concerns about delays in securing Parliament's approval to aid disbursement of some donor funds tied to the program. This concern was captured in the latest IMF staff report about the economy. Parliament is yet to approve key World Bank programs that should lead to the release of more of the $500 million to Ghana before the end of this year. The IMF in the report is warning that these delays could affect the finances of government and the economy. Now let's get on Zoom and speak to economist Dr. Edu Owusu-Sarkodie on these developments. Welcome, Doc. Great. Doc, are you worried about the IMF itself raising questions about the delay in Parliament over this approval?
Of course, it's a worry. I think that Ghanaian economy is recovering, and we need the external financing. Already, we have secured $3 billion from the IMF. The Cedi, until maybe last 2 weeks, has been depreciating, and therefore we need external resources to stabilize our Cedi, because the exchange rate depreciation also feeds into inflation and the overall cost of living. So I think Parliament must, sit and then approve these funding for our economy. We all know that the economy is still recovering. It's like we are sick and we are now getting healing, and therefore we need every resource counts for us to get a full recovery. And so I want to submit and recommend that Parliament will sit. They should resolve all differences because IMF themselves are also raising concerns about that. So I don't think we should do this to ourselves as a country. We should just come together, NDCFP, come together and sit and approve these external funding, because we need it. It's a need for our economy.
Doc, do you think that government should move quickly to try and deal with this impasse in Parliament so we could get the World Bank funds before the close of the year, looking at how critical that amount of money will be for the economy?
Yes, I believe so. I think both parties are aware of where our economy is. I think NDC are not oblivious of the fact that even in 2015, they were with IMF. And so now, both parties are aware of the implications of everything going on in Parliament, their inability to meet and then pass this, the impact on the economy. And so I believe that the two parties, especially the transition team, they should make sure that they call their members. I think MPP can, through their leader, the leadership of the party and their whip, they can whip members and come back. NDC too, through the leadership of their parties, those in Parliament, they can get themselves together and have a conversation with the Speaker, and how quickly leadership can organize the entire Parliament House, the parliamentarians to sit and approve this. I think that these two parties are aware. So the transition team should really take this on board and discuss it. President Mahama and the President Akufo-Addo should really step in and help resolve this issue. So I want to really ask the transition team to play a key role here and advise parliamentarians on the need to pass these funds for our economy. And as I've indicated already, we are still fragile, we are still recovering, and therefore we need it. We need the funding to shore up the currency, the local currency, so that doesn't impact negatively again on the cost of living, because we have suffered enough. I think that we should focus on recovering the economy, and everything will be fine. So the transition team should really take this up for us.
Let's look at the current disturbances in town. And dispute over some parliamentary elections could affect investor reactions and possibly market confidence. Is that so?
Well, to a large extent, I don't think so. I think Ghana has matured. Our economy and democracy has matured. I should say democracy has matured. We've gone to the polls since 1992 several times. I think there's a 9th time or so. We've had successful change of power from one party to another. We did that in 2001 and 2009 and 2017, etc., etc. So Ghana has gone far. The report I chanced on says that Ghana is amongst the top 4 most peaceful countries in Africa. And my colleagues at GIPC, Ghana Investment Promotion Council, they believe that some investors choose Ghana because of the stability we have and the peace we have. And so I think that the uncertainty surrounding our election, 2024 election, which some people thought would pose some risk to our economy, has been removed, I should say, especially by the pronouncement of Dr. Bawumia. Because if the losing candidate or the second place candidate had not conceded by now, then things would have been more escalating. But because within maybe 24 hours or a few hours after election, Dr. Bawumia conceded. And last time we also had Mrs. Jemensa making the declaration. So I don't think that there's so much fear, except with the fact that we should deal with the few pockets of violence, pockets of misunderstanding in certain constituencies, in Sawama, Aduajiri, Damango, Tepa areas, and we should just try and resolve it. But overall, I think that I am proud to be a Ghanaian, and all Ghanaians should be proud of themselves that we've gone through this electoral process and it's been so smooth. We have a transition team. They met at the Jubilee House successfully. There were smiles on the faces of outgoing president and an incoming president. So I don't think it should be so much of a worry to international investors. I wouldn't think so. It's not too much of a problem.
Dr. Edu Owususa, coordinator and economist, thank you for your time here on Business Live. Now, moving on, former Minister of Finance, Cedi Tekpe, has downplayed any negative investor response to planned renegotiation of the IMF program by the incoming administration. There are fears that the economy could be hit badly if the NDC government goes ahead with this move. But Mr. Cedi Tekpe disagrees.
Speech on this, he did indicate that he would seek some enhancements. Of the IMF program. And so I do not want us to look at renegotiation being in the context of, repudiation of terms or of restarting, things that, have been firmly agreed upon. After all, the IMF program was based on performance of the economy, the West, in our history. And therefore, what the president sought, to portray, which he has said several times, that there are certain indicators which he would want, to enhance. There are other indicators for which, he would conduct a national, forum. And after which, obviously, he would have the mandate, a clear mandate. And so the renegotiation is in terms of making the program more attractive and making it, therefore, targeting it to meet the needs, the people. If I may give you one example, if we have, beyond,
Meanwhile, President-elect John Mahama has stressed the need to stabilize the economy, strengthen the Cedi, and bring down inflation. This, he says, will ease the financial burden on Ghanaians. Speaking during a courtesy call from the Chinese ambassador to Ghana, Tom Tefa, he said Ghana needs to work even closer with its partners, including China. He said once the transition is completed, Ghana will begin to see changes and collaboration going forward.
Ghana's relationship with China is historical because Ghana was the first sub-Saharan African country to establish diplomatic relations with China. And that was during the period of our first president, President Nkrumah. Afterwards, there were coup d'etats and there was a slight dip in terms of our relationship. But in the last decades, we've had a very wonderful cooperation with China. And we hope to continue to keep that up. I myself met with President Xi. When he was vice president, I was also vice president. And he invited me twice to China when he was vice president. And then again, we met in South Africa during the FOCAC. And that was before I left office. Since then, this government has continued that relationship. We know the cooperation with Sino Hydro on the various projects that were being implemented across the country. Unfortunately, the debt default has affected Ghana's credit rating in terms of our economy. And so we're looking to focus and bring Ghana back up in terms of economic growth, in terms of stabilizing the currency, in terms of bringing down inflation. And this is the time Ghana needs to work even closer with its partners, including China. And so as early as possible, once we get the transition out of the way, it is our hope that we'll be able to constitute a delegation to begin engaging with China on the issues of our technical cooperation and how Ghana can continue to benefit from the FOCAC disbursement and also from the Belt and Road Initiative. Ghana has always upheld the One China policy, and you can inform Mr. President that our new administration continues to believe in the One China policy, and that on all the foreign relations issues that we've worked on, we have had a spirit of consultation, and that we'll continue to consult so that we can have a common position going forward on global issues. And so thank you again very much for the congratulations. I appreciate it.
And I'm so thinking, Mr. President, have you mind your first official visit?
Now, the manager of macroeconomic research, GCB Bank PLC, Courage Boti, has urged President-elect John Mahama to work at winning back market confidence to get the support of investors to reset the economy. He believes transparency, trust, and anchoring market sentiment will be the drivers to reset the economy back on a strong and sound footing. Speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Boti stated that the first budget of John Mahama administration would determine whether he's poised to reset the economy.
With winning back market confidence, because if you look at this year, 2024, not that reserves are recovered to levels that are pre-COVID. No, we are not there, and I think we are quite a distance from there. But then, if you see the reserve levels compared to 2023, compared to 2022, things are much stronger this year. We may talk about relative stability this year, but the Cedi has lost nearly 5 Cedi already to $1 this year. I don't think that is stability in my view. And a lot of it is sentiment, right? Sentiment around the election, sentiment around will there be around 2 of debt restructuring, sentiment around will government be able to come good on their payments after they are done restructuring and all that. So we need to carry the market along. Anchor sentiment through the communications, the policies we churn out. The very first budget of this new government should be one that communicates responsibility, not one that goes into the overdrive of achieving political party manifesto promises without really recourse for what impact it will have on the fiscal sustainability. If the first budget resonates with the market and we see some commitment to fiscal consolidation in there, which is the biggest bane, and then we would have been making a first necessary step.
We have more business update for you right after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Business Live. Now to more business updates. The Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, has expressed worry about the continuous dominance of foreigners in the country's retail space. According to GUTA, these foreign companies have taken advantage of the absence of the retention policy to repatriate their profits, thereby shortchanging the country in foreign earnings. Speaking to Joy Business, President of GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obin, called for the review of the investment laws in the country.
The retail space has already been overtaken by these foreigners. Look at China Mall alone, Chinatown, the EU, and all this. They've taken a chunk of our market share. These companies that I mentioned have taken over 40% of our market share. what is left for the indigents? And so it's very important that we also think about this. And this, I believe, the president going touring the nation heard all this from the retailers. And so it's very important that we use the investment law to deal with this problem. I believe that the problem with the exchange rate and all that, the great majority depends on the over dominance of our economy by these foreigners. All the good juicy areas of our economy is being dominated by these foreigners, and we don't have any retention policy to make sure that whatever we get, we retain some. And so we get it, and it all go outside the shores of our country. And that's why we had balance of trade surplus and all that, but it did not reflect into the strength of the cedi, because the money will go and then we will not get the returns back home. Likewise, these foreigners will come, bring all these goods and just change their profits into a foreign exchange and then repatriate all of them. So that we use the investment law. We are not going to do anything that is unlawful. That the investment law is there to drive investors to its preferred area. If we are using the investment law to drive investors to its preferred area, the preferred area is not trading, retailing.
Now, the chairman of Group Indum, Dr. Kwesi Indum, is optimistic about the upcoming administration restoring the license of GM Bank. President-elect John Mahama promised to review that regulatory action when he gets the mandate following a petition from the chairman's group. Speaking to Joy Business after a 9-hour lesson in Kairos night of Coconut Grove Hotel in Accra, Dr. Indum was very positive about the outlook.
When I've said it everywhere, it's not hopeful. I am confident that GN Bank will come back. The economy, when we feel it, we will know that it's back on its feet. Right now, we're not there. We're not there. Words won't do it. It is how we feel, how our pockets feel, how businesses feel. That's what's going to be there. So it's good for people to be optimistic. No question. I don't have any problem about that. But the reality, when it hits, Ghanaians will know. I don't think my expectation is any different from any Ghanaian. Everybody wants a better life. Everybody wants Ghana to live up to its, if you will, the reputation that was created, in 1957, and every time it comes up. When I was a minister, I had no problems whatsoever going anywhere to look for money for Ghana. None. The reputation has been there. We just haven't lived up to it. So now a new group has come. They must listen. They must listen when our people talk. They must listen to business people. They must listen to those in all the different sectors, particularly the financial sector. If they do, life will go and the business will go and they will do well. If they don't, well, there'll be problems.
Now, the Development Bank Ghana says it is poised to leverage digitalization to expand its mandate by providing long-term capital to the market to foster strong partnerships to finance economic growth and build capacity for SMEs. CEO of DBG, Kwamena Duka, stated that from next year, the bank would deepen its ambitions and targets while implementing environmental, social, and governance strategies aimed at creating shared values and impact with purpose. You're speaking to Joy Business on that particular bulletin.
BG is becoming an increasingly important institution in the development and transformation of our economy. But to do that, we have to work in trustful relationships with our partner financial institutions, the banks, both universal and regional, and also SNLs, etc. So what's next for us, right? Clearly, we need to do more. It's as simple as that. We act as a catalyst, but there's so many areas, including this, that we spoke about today, that we really need to start making an impact. So over the next few years, you're going to see more targeted in terms of particular sectors of the industry. You're going to see a much bigger focus in terms of women-led businesses, as we mentioned, or women-owned businesses. We're going to do more in that respect. And we're also going to build scale. And for that, technology is a huge part of what we're doing at the moment. And there's several initiatives that you've already seen that we've started. Our relationship with the Monetary Authority of Singapore, the Bank of Ghana, in terms of the Ghana, the GIFI, which is basically trying to move a lot of what we're doing manually and bring on our clients or our SMEs and bring them on in terms of scale, right? So that's our big push. How can we scale what we're doing? And quite a few initiatives that have begun. And once we get them going, because remember, we're a catalyst, once we get them going, then we invite friends and family to join us.
That's all for business here on Business Live. My name is Winston Taki. Coming up next is Beyond the Numbers with me and Isaac Kufieje. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.